In this video, we're going to show you how to mod every single version of the PS2 Slim. Alright, so I just finished doing the Retro Gem install on my PS2 Slim here, and unfortunately for me, this PS2 Slim is not modded, so we gotta change that because I want to be able to run OPL on this guy and do all my other fun homebrew stuff for the PS2 that I enjoy doing. Normally I use my FAT, but I liked the Slim for the HDMI mod better. So in this video, I'm going to take you through the easiest way possible to soft mod a PS2 Slim, so that way you get access to all the fun homebrew stuff, as well as being able to dump BIOS files and all that, because you have access to a modded system. And screw it, let's go ahead and dive in. Now, as we get started, there are a few things you're going to need, the first of which being a PS2 Slim of any model number. So from the 7000s up to the 9000s, or even the Bravia TVs work with this soft mod method. Next, you're going to need a blank DVD-R to burn our exploit onto. It has to be a DVD, not a CD, so DVD-R gives you the best results. And I like to go with the Verbatim brand. And if you don't happen to have a DVD burner, you could get cheap external DVD burners off of Amazon for about $25, so not too expensive. And it is really useful to have a DVD burner, even in the modern age, if you do any homebrew projects like this for older systems. Next, you're going to need a USB flash drive. So today I am using one from PNY. It's a USB 3.1 64 gig flash drive, but it is compatible with the PS2 when formatted into FAT32, so we'll go over that again in a moment. And the last thing we need is a PS2 memory card. This could be official or third party, but try to keep it below 64 megabytes because in my testing, anything over 64 seem to have more issues. And I will have links to all relevant items in the description below if you are interested. Now, I do think it is worth mentioning that if you are not using a PS2 Slim 90000 or a Bravia TV, that you can buy pre-modded PS2 memory cards with FreeMCB installed, which is exactly the same process we're doing for these models in this video. They're relatively cheap and easy to find on Amazon, Etsy, AliExpress, things like that. So if you don't already have DVDs or a DVD drive, it is technically cheaper to use this method. But do read the reviews on them to make sure you're not getting a scam card. But one thing I will say, never buy anything from Kaiko. Screw those guys. Don't do it. Don't support these thieves. But with all of our prerequisites out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the modding process. So the first thing we're going to do is head over to GitHub and download FreeDVDBoot from CTURT. FreeDVDBoot is an exploit that uses the PS2's DVD player to exploit the console. And all versions of the Slim use the same DVD player, making it an excellent way to soft mod any of them. So just go into the FreeDVDBoot GitHub page, you can scroll down just a little bit and you'll see step 1, download the ISO, and this is a pre-built ISO for all PS2 Slims. So just go ahead and get this downloaded. And next we're going to grab the latest version of FreeMCB from IsRap's GitHub page. So link to this will be in the description below, but just go ahead and go to the pre-release versions and download the latest version. So as of this video, it's still FMCB 1966. So just look for the one that is newest and get it downloaded. Now once you have both of these downloaded, we'll just go ahead and get FreeMCB extracted. It uses 7-zip, so if you don't have that downloaded, I'd recommend doing so. It's amazing. We're just going to go ahead and extract it to FreeMCB folder here. There we go. Now, if you are on a 90000 PS2 series or using the Bravia TV, you are going to need to download FunTuna and use it to get your system soft modded. So, link to the FunTuna page will be in the description below, but just scroll down and click on the download link, and if you get a security warning, just go ahead and tell it to keep it. And once downloaded, just get it extracted. And open up that folder, and inside you'll see FunTuna-R3.psu. Now with this extracted, we just need to add the folder to our USB drive, but we need to make sure that it is in FAT32 format. So if your USB drive is 32 gigabytes or under, it's really easy to get it into FAT32. You just right click on it in Windows, click on Format, and you can select FAT32 from the drop-down list and get it formatted easily. Once you go above 32 gigs, it's a little more difficult. Now, a lot of modern PS2 homebrew can actually use exFAT, but For compatibility's sake, we need to use FAT32 for the install process. Since my USB drive is an exFAT format, I need to get it formatted to FAT32, so I'm just going to use RidgeCorp Consultant's FAT32 format tool here. And it's easy to get that downloaded, just click on the picture, and it's ready to go. So I'm just going to get that opened up. And you need to make sure you close out of any File Explorer instances, otherwise it'll fail. But you just select your USB drive. Make sure you're selecting your USB drive. I'm not going to take any responsibility if you fat fingered and delete one of your own drives. It's on you. And then I'm just going to tell it to start. And there we go. So now when I go in, I can click on Properties, see that it is now in FAT32 format. So I'm just going to get that opened up. Open up the FreeMCBoot folder and drag it in, so that way we can get FreeMCBoot installed onto our PS2's memory card. And done, we have FreeMCBoot ready to go. Now, for those of you rocking the 90,000 or the Bravia TVs, we just need to get the FunTuna-r3.psu file copied over to our USB drive, so just go ahead and move it over now. So just going to copy that in right in with my FreeMC installer that we're going to use for the earlier Slims. There we go. And all set. Now we just need to burn our FreeDVDBoot ISO to our blank DVD. So get your DVD drive hooked up to your computer if you're using an external burner, and then insert the disk whether you're using an internal drive or external drive. Next, open up a DVD burner program such as ImageBurn. If you don't have ImageBurn, you can get it from Major Geeks without any risk of spyware involved with it, so this is where I'd recommend getting it if you want to use ImageBurn. Otherwise, just use your program of choice. But now we're just going to write the image file to our disk, so we're just going to go ahead and select it. Oh, hey, my Xbox game's cool. So just navigate to the directory you have the image stored in, so I have mine on my desktop, so here we go. All PS2 Slim English language, there we go. And we're going to choose a slower write speed to ensure that it doesn't break on us, so just select the lowest write speed supported by your drive, and then tell it to start the burn. And you can leave it to verify if you want, or you can just tell it to eject or any other things if you're using ImageBurn. So we're just going to go with this, and we will be back after this burn process completes. Alright, so that burn is complete, and we are ready to softmod our PS2. Alright, so for initial PS2 setup, just get your memory cards inserted like you normally would. Again, the one you're going to exploit could be in either slot 1 or 2. We're going to be installing it to this official 8MB memory card today, so it's going to be in slot 1 for me. And then you can get your USB flash drive inserted into either of the USB ports. I like to use the leftmost just because of my OCD, I guess, but whatever. And now we can go ahead and insert our exploit DVD. But don't close the tray yet. We need to do some settings in here in case you are using a language other than English. But from here, just go ahead and get it powered on. Alright, and once your PS2 is booted up, the language needs to be set to English for FreeDVDBoot to work. So if you are somewhere else in the world or using a different language, you need to head into your System Configuration tab. And change your language to English, so you can easily do so here. And once that's done, you can go ahead and close the disk tray on your PS2 Slim. And the FreeDVDBoot exploit will boot up once it finishes reading it. So there we go. And there we go, the exploit has successfully run, and we are now in a version of Launch Elf. And from here, we can now access our USB drive to install FreeMCBoot onto our memory cards. So just press circle on your controller to go into the file browser, head down to the mass option, and then look at your bottom bar for what your OK button is, because it might be circle, it might be cross. Just double check which one it is, and use it to enter your USB drive. And then enter your FreeMC installer folder and choose FMCB installer.elf. Now click on install. and choose the slot for your memory card that you're going to run the exploit from. Again, I'm going to be doing it on an official PS2 8MB memory card, because whenever I try to do it to my 128 or 256 cards, I end up with a error message here. So we'll just go ahead and show you that real quick, what happens if you have an incompatible memory card. And there it is, failed to bind magic gate file. Yep, go figure. But anyway, again, a number of third-party memory cards do work, and I've found the most success in 64 megabytes and under. But anyway, now for a successful install. Slot 1. And there's 3 install types available. There's for your specific PS2 and similar models, every PS2, or every PS2 of the same region. These 2 options take up a lot more space. So if you don't plan on moving the memory card between a bunch of different PS2s, you're fine with the first option. And this memory card's been exploited before, so it found a configuration file in it already. So yeah, I'm going to keep it because I made it like 2 days ago. And the install process will begin. And once the installation process is completed, just press OK. Now you can open up your DVD drive on your PS2 Slim, take out our FreeDVDBoot exploit disk, turn off the PS2, and then go ahead and boot it back up. And you will now be greeted with the FreeMCBoot home screen. So as you can see, FreeMCBoot version 1.966 as of this video, and it gives us access to a lot of good options in here. The first one being Launch Shelf, so you can run Homebrew software. We have a pre-installed version of OpenPS2 Loader. You might want to update this, not sure how recent it is. Then you can also launch discs from the PS2's DVD drive, and then you can configure the main menu as you see fit here, and then we also have restart and shutdown options available. Now, for those of you on 90,000 PS2 Slims or the Sony Bravia TVs with PS2s built in, the process is pretty much the same. Get your memory cards put in, USB drive put in, and then insert your FreeDVDBoot DVD. But before launching it, do make sure that under system configuration that your language is set to English, because again, it is needed to be on English for the exploit to run. Once you have all that configured, just go ahead and launch your disk. And once Launch Shelf has booted, just go ahead and press circle for the file browser. And again, look at your bottom tray to see what your OK button is. And from here, navigate down to the mass drive. Now press R1 on FunTuna-R3.psu. Now press OK on copy. And you'll see a little green square up in the upper right corner of the selection menu here. Now from here, press triangle, go up to MC0, that is your first memory card. And make sure there's no FunTuna folders already inside your memory card, otherwise it'll make things mess up. Which, if you're doing a new mod, shouldn't be the case, but for anyone that's using another card that already had it before, just make sure there's no folder called FunTuna, otherwise just delete it. But anyway, once you're in your memory card, make sure you have at least 2.6 megabytes free, so you can look at the upper right corner and see how much you have. So I have 4 megabytes of free space on this one. So just press R1 and do PSU paste. And now just wait for the transfer to complete. And once that copy is completed, just go ahead and take out your FreeDVDBoot disk, turn off the PS2, and then reboot it. Now, the reason I don't like using this method for all Slim models is because, as you can see, it does not auto-boot into FreeMCBoot and requires you to trigger the exploit every time you boot up the system. So, unfortunately, for those 90,000 Slims and the Sony Bravia PS2s, you do have to use this method. So, to access the mod, you just go into Browser, select your memory card in slot 1, you'll see that there are invisible icons here. So once it's finished reading it, just go ahead and back out. You'll see that your memory cards are now invisible as well, so you can back out again. And it activates FreeMCBoot for you now. And there we go, FreeMCBoot version 1.8 for FunTuna, FunTuna. And you get a bunch of options for different homebrews and things like that. But regardless of which exploit method you used or installed, you can now begin loading up Homebrew into your PS2 and using it, such as the latest version of OpenPS2 Loader, so link to the GitHub page will be in the description below. But just go ahead and grab the latest release, so I just download OpenPS2 Loader.7zip. Or if you're interested in emulation, you could download something like RetroArch for PS2. So just a quick example of getting those running. Just extract them. So for OpenPS2 Loader, just going to drag that folder in. And then for RetroArch, just going to drag that one in. And since I no longer need FunTuna or FMCB installer, I'm just going to go ahead and delete those from my USB drive. Now, you can choose whether or not you're going to install your apps to your internal memory card or leave them on USB. Either option works. But I like to make a new apps folder since I like to run things from USB, so I'm just going to add these into there and call it a day. And from here you have two ways of loading up these new homebrew things. So one is to go into Launch Elf, head into the file browser, go down to your USB drive under Mass, head into your apps folder, and then you can launch the Elf files. But for more simplicity, what I like to do is actually add them to my FreeMCBoot menu, and so you could do this with FunTuna and FreeMCBoot. So just head down to the FreeMCBoot configurator here and launch it, and then you can select your button layout. So I like to use cross as select. There we go. And you'll see at the top left, it's loaded a configuration file for memory card 0. That's great. And now we're going to go ahead and configure our OSD options. So go down to configure OSD sys options and press your OK button. And you'll see that there's a number of different items that you can scroll through here on the menu. So the first one is Launch Elf. So if you did the FreeMCBoot installer, it's named W Launch Elf, blah, 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 blah. You can rename that if you want to. So for example, I want to get rid of everything but it saying Launch Elf. And there we go. And then you can just hit return once that's done. But then you could go through and edit any other options as you see fit. So I want to change my OpenPS2 loader to boot to the latest version because again, I don't know what version it comes with on the installer. So going into this one, I'm going to clear out path 2 and 3 and change path 1 over to my USB mass storage device, my apps folder, OpenPS2 loader, and I'm going to select the latest version. Now just click on return. And I want to add RetroArch in, so I'm going to move over to item 6 and add RetroArch into this one. So just going to name this one, there we go, RetroArch. And now for path 1, I'm going to select my USB mass storage device, which it already is in. Okay, cool. So just going to go to my RetroArch folder, select the ELF, click on return. And there we go. Now I have my new homebrew options enabled in my OSD sys menu. So just going to go on return. And I'm going to save the configuration to memory card 0. And it is now saved, so I'm going to exit out. So now when your PS2 restarts on your FreeMCBoot menu or FunTuna menu, you should see your new options enabled. So there we go. There's RetroArch and the latest version of OpenPS2 Loader. And we simplified the name of Launch Elf to make it less distracting. So very cool stuff. And as you can see, just select it. So it didn't like my retro gem being in 1440p mode, so I just had to change that over to 1080p to get that to show up with RetroArch here, so sorry about that. But there we go, so there's RetroArch showing up in our PS2. Very cool stuff. So here we are running Ace Combat 5 using the latest version of OPL running from my RetroNAS server. So everything is now working exactly as I wanted it to, and the process is now complete. And with that, you now have a wonderfully soft-modded PS2 Slim or Bravia TV, regardless of make and model. The PS2 scene is alive and well here in the tail end of 2023, and there's just so many fun things you can still do and enjoy with this system. But thank you so much as always for watching today's tutorial. I hope you have found it informative and it helps you get your PS2 projects up and running to your desires. Now here at the end, I do have a couple of big favors to ask. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to hit that dislike button, depending on how much you like this tutorial, as well as that sub button and notification bell, so you can see when new videos go live on the channel. Loads always coming your way, and I'd love to have each and every one of you along for the ride. For anyone interested in further helping support the channel and keep it going, also be sure to check out that join button here on YouTube or the Patreon link in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. Little goes a long way to keep this place up and running and bringing all of this content directly to you. Big shout out to all of our current champions. Thank you so much as always for believing in what we do here and helping us keep it going. You are incredible and amazing. Thank you so much. But until next time, my wonderful internet peeps, you all stay awesome, keep on gaming, and we'll see you back next video.